got an exciting edition of Dugout Station today. We're joined by another Yankees pitching prospect. This time it's Danny Watson, also with the Somerset Patriots. Danny, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, no problem at all. I'm glad to be here.
Danny, you had an amazing season, and we've been watching, following every time you got on the mound. You came into for as a reliever, even as a closer. I knew it was game over. Um, First and foremost, congratulations on your wedding,
Thank you. Appreciate that.
and we're looking forward to this interview with you.
Me too. Me too. Excited.
What was your biggest step forward this year, and what changes did you make to your delivery?
Honestly, it'd be easier to say what I didn't change to my delivery because pretty much everything was different. From pitch arsenal to how my body moves. Literally everything, every part of my body changed this year, and I think that's kind of why I had so much more success this year. From literally head to toes, completely changed. Like obviously, you guys saw like how I set up with my out of the stretch now. I kind of got that tilt to start a little bit more bent over. So it's literally just the whole entire body just kind of has changed completely with from last year to this year.
So, like, how challenging is it to do all that being 6'7", like, with all those moving parts? Like, that's got to be, and it must have took a ton of work to, like, transform your delivery.
Yeah, it definitely did take a lot of work, but I mean, it is a lot easier when you have the coaching staff that we do. They're super knowledgeable, so if I have any kind of issue, I go to them and they have a solution really quickly. They're very intelligent, smart people, so they know what they're doing. That's for sure. So yeah, so it's really easy with being surrounded by the people I am. They're so knowledgeable, so they just can tell me instantly pretty much how to fix whatever I'm going through. Yeah, so it's really nice being here with the Yankees.
What was it like working with Grayson Crawford, and how did he help your development as a pitcher?
Yeah, he helped tremendously. Obviously, like last year, I had him in 2022. I had him with the Tampa Tarpons. So I was with him all year, and then from this year, I was here in Somerset with him from end of May throughout the whole year. So obviously, he knows me very well, so he was able to help me, with little tidbits here and there. But I think the biggest part of how he helped me was actually this past off season. He was the kind of the reason that I changed a lot of my arsenal. He would go over the statistics with me, like what would actually work better, the analytics department was telling me or telling him to tell me. So he just showed me exactly kind of what they were saying and, why, like why there is a why behind what I'm doing. So I think
Mhm.
that's really helpful is understanding the reason that I'm trying to do what I'm doing. But then he also played around with some pitch grips with me. So in 2022, I threw a fastball, a kind of like a gyro cutter, and then I threw a changeup. And so now this past year, in this last off season, he showed me kind of a new fastball grip, and he also played around with my slider grip, and then he actually scrapped my changeup and added a cutter. So we made all those changes in the off season, and that's kind of what made the biggest difference for me for this year. So he was a huge help this year to make those the big improvements.
Wow. He's so supportive. Everyone says the same about him. Yeah, some stats. Hudson stats: 24 innings pitched, 39 strikeouts, ERA of 1.48, which translated into Somerset: 38 innings pitched, 43 strikeouts, and a 1.64 ERA, with 6 saves. Those are incredible stats. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, thank you.
What was so with that? What was the biggest adjustment or transition going from Hudson to Somerset?
So a lot of it had to do, I think, with the two strike approach. So you just listed the stats. One of the big differences really was the strikeout numbers. So in Hudson Valley, I was able to strike out a lot of guys a lot easier. And then Somerset, I kind of realized that they have more of a two strike approach. Like they're making an adjustment towards the end of the at bat. So that's kind of the biggest adjustment I had to make, and that's what I was talking to with my other teammates and Grayson, just talking with those guys, kind of saying like, "Hey, like I noticed I'm not striking as many guys out. Like this, my stuff is the same. I know guys get better as you go up, but I didn't think it should drop off as much as it did." And so that's when we kind of realized that I wasn't having a 2-strike plan. I was kind of just keeping the same a plan as I was in attack counts as I am in 2-strike counts. So that's when we realized, okay, yeah, I need to focus more in my touch and feels on, getting the fastball elevated. So I have that for 2 strikes and, getting the slider down and away. So I'm just more prepared when I do get to 2 strikes, so I can actually get more strikeouts. And so that's kind of why I ended up getting more strikeouts towards the end of the year as I did when I first got to Somerset. Because, when I got there in Somerset, I was struggling a little bit to get some of the strikeouts. But, yeah, we kind of just talked it over, and that's where we came up with that plan to get those strikeouts again. So that was definitely the biggest adjustment I had to make.
We didn't see you struggle at all.
I appreciate that. Well, in my I know statistics wise it looks good, but there's always
Mhm.
improvements you can make, and so that was one of the things that we noticed. ERA numbers, all that were good, but there's
Yeah.
always improvement you can make, and that was the biggest change that we thought we could
Adjustment.
make. Yeah, absolutely.
I remember you came up on fire. You had like 17 or 20 straight scoreless appearances. Like you weren't giving up a run in Double A. You were going. I forgot the exact number, but it was really impressive, and it definitely took us all.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a good run. But it definitely is very easy when you have the defense that we have. It's like I honestly, I truly believe I could throw the ball right down the middle, and my defense would be able to get an out. That's how confident I am in the defense, and that's what I feel like it makes me even better because now like I can relax a little bit more. I know the defense behind me is gonna make the play, so it just definitely makes it a lot easier when you have the defense we have.
Good stuff.
Your control was really good too. Like your whip was under 0.9, which is really good, especially for a reliever. That's impressive because a lot of guys get in trouble walking people, but you attacked the zone really well. So with that, what was the highlight of your season? It seems like there could be a lot of things to choose from.
Oh, the highlight of my season. That is tough. I'd say I know we didn't end the year quite like we wanted to, but I feel like the highlight of the season was probably when we clinched in Somerset. Because winning is obviously my favorite thing to do. So it was probably the highlight of my season when we actually were able to clinch the postseason. Especially that I couldn't be out there in the field with them, but I was right there. I was right there in the bullpen supporting them. But
Yeah.
yeah, it didn't end the way we wanted, but we got it next year.
Something really cool that happened also was that you were named the Yankees top 30 prospect. You popped the MLB pipelines list. You're the second reliever behind your buddy Edgar Barclay. So how awesome was that?
Yeah, it's definitely a surreal, experience to find out that, I was on that top prospect list. I always think about how I ended in 2022, and how I mean, I had an okay year. I mean, not great, but I looked back at that year, and I was disappointed. I thought I could have done better. So now when I look back on this year, I'm just thankful for all the work that I put in, and, all the help that I've had with, the Yankee staff and all my teammates that were able to, get me to that point. Because obviously, it wasn't just me that was able to get me onto that list. It's a whole bunch of people behind the scenes that are able to, help me get better. From any standpoint, it's a huge support system that allows me to, get better every day. So I'm very thankful for where I am.
What's your mindset going into spring training? Do you think you're ready for AAA?
No, I know for a fact I'm ready to go. I'm ready for
I
AAA.
love it.
But whether they put me there or not, I mean that's completely out of my control. So, I just take it day by day. I'm just going to work as hard as I can, to make the decision for them a little bit easier to move me up there. But if that doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. It's just extra motivation. I like to think, So I mean, whatever happens, happens. I'm just, I'm just excited to be a part of this organization. If I'm in Double A, Triple A, wherever. I'm just as happy as can be.
Okay, so how cool was it to see guys like Dominguez and Wells play in the MLB after you played with them in Somerset? Like, how was that experience for you?
It's really cool. We were all watching their debuts, and it's kind of surreal. Like they were just in our locker room a month prior or a few months prior. Just talking with them, and now they're on the big screen playing in front of thousands and thousands of fans. It's definitely surreal, and I'm just obviously super proud that I was a teammate of theirs. And, I'm just hoping I can be a teammate of theirs again this year. We'll see.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
we really want to see you get that spring training invite too. That would be awesome. We would love to see you push that spot. And what do you think you need to do to get yourself on the MLB radar, to push yourself forward and get that call up?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest difference, between big leaguers and guys in the minor leagues is just consistency. It's a day in and day out. You know what they're going to do, how they're going to do. So just being as consistent as I possibly can be. I hit my spots a little bit more, doing all that. My stuff's definitely got a lot better, but there's always improvements I can make. So I mean, just make some minor improvements and get the command even better than it was last year. And I think I give myself the best shot that I can.
Yep. So you grew up a Yankee fan, huh?
I did, yeah. My entire family was Yankee fans. We grew up in upstate New York, so I've been a Yankees fan my entire life. So when I got the call, I was obviously very excited that I was going to be a part of such a great organization. So yeah, I was definitely very happy.
Yeah, I was going to ask how surreal that feeling was when you got the call that you got drafted. I mean, you were with your family?
Yeah, I was with my family. My family moved to Naples, Florida, so I was actually with them in Naples. So it was, and some of my extended family as well. They were all there, so it was great to be around my family on a big day for sure.
What was your most memorable moment in college at VCU that kind of put yourself in the position to get drafted?
That put me in the position to get drafted. I wouldn't say it's really one moment, because when you get drafted, it's really about how well you've been doing for years. It's not just kind of like one moment, but it's just for me, kind of the position that I got in was, because of my velocity. I threw harder than I do now in college because I threw from the higher slot.
Wow.
So that really put me in a good position to get drafted. And also
Mm,
being 6'7", that helps a lot. Being a big body means you have a lot more potential than some other guys may have. So I had the high velo and then the size. That just really put me in the best position that I could be to get drafted.
wow. How fast were you throwing?
I was mid-90s when I was the higher slot.
Now you're like what, 92, 94? Like that's kind of what you top out at now?
Yeah, so I feel like a typical outing would be 90, 92. But yeah, potential to get up there a little bit.
So being drafted in the 15th round, did you have a chip on your shoulder? Did you feel like you had to prove something to the Yankees to put yourself on in their plans?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, obviously they don't have a lot of money. They didn't have a lot of money invested in me, so I was like, man, I really got to improve myself a lot more than some other guys may have. But the Yankees, what I realized really quickly is that they don't look at that as what I thought they would. I thought, maybe they signed this guy for this much money or this guy for that much money. They're gonna just move that guy up faster because they put more money into him. But
Yeah.
they kind of throw at that all out the window, and they really just care about how well you're doing, how well you're improving, and all that. So they kind of just take all that away, which is what I love. So it creates kind of like a level playing field, and so that's why I think I've done so well since I've gotten here, is because creating that level playing field, kind of starts it all over again.
Gotcha. What was your time like with the Tarpons and training in the Yankees complex? How'd you like it over there?
Yeah, I loved definitely being in that facility. Like that facility is amazing at George Steinbrenner.
Yeah.
It's definitely really cool to be over there. Obviously, I was there for a little bit longer than I wanted to, so that's some good feelings towards it. But I mean, I deserved to be there. I wasn't performing quite the way I wanted to. And I'm glad that I was there because it allowed me to kind of get better, make improvements, and be around the staff that was able to kind of give me those tidbits that could help me be even better.
Yep. What was the biggest challenge in the first few years of your career?
As far as my professional career, I would
Yes.
say the biggest challenge was so last year in 2022, I that's when I first started to drop my arm slop. So my stats were decent, but they looked at my numbers on velo, movement, shape wise. They said, okay, it plays here in low A, but it won't play in the big leagues. So they're like, we need to make some adjustments, and that's when I was like, oh man, like I'm doing well, but they kind of had to tell me, explain all these numbers, and proved to me that, it will be better if you make these adjustments. So I started to make that around after All-Star break of 2022. And then that was really tough. Changing a lot of things, it made it really hard to pitch well, throw strikes. But obviously, I mean, from making those changes, I've seen the biggest difference, bigger difference than I could even imagine, from actually doing what they say. They're very smart, so they know what they're talking about. But sometimes, it's hard to believe because you're like, oh, I'm throwing harder. Why would I want to drop my arm slot and throw slower? But it's proven to be right. It's a lot more effective. But yeah, so it's definitely a big challenge making all those changes last year. But I'm very thankful that we did.
I imagine, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely been a nice journey for you, and you've had to go through a lot of arm slot changes. You were a 15th round pick. You defied all the odds. You're in a good position right now, and we just can't wait to see how this continues to progress into next season.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Just about working hard every day. So just putting yourself in the best position that you possibly can.
So that Patriots bullpen is awesome. You guys had so many good guys in there. Who are some teammates you leaned on? Maybe you took some things from, you worked with to try to enhance your games during the season?
It's honestly, it's everyone. Like, I mean, obviously there's some guys that you're going to talk to a little bit more than others. But, I mean, I would talk to literally everybody and ask. I'd see somebody doing some different drill, or I'd see somebody, throwing like a cutter that was better than mine. So I'd ask like, hey, like, what are you doing? And, even though we are competing, we're friends, we're teammates, like they love to help out. And that's what's the great thing about being in this organization is we all love to help each other out. So it's kind of just a little bit of everything from a little bit of everybody. Everybody's super helpful, super knowledgeable. So it's just great to be part of Somerset because like they were great teammates. They were super helpful with anything that I needed.
Yeah.
I feel like you're kind of similar to Edgar Barkley, even though he throws from the left side. Like you guys kind of have similar stuff a little bit, and he is a little bit smaller. So I kind of thought that was an interesting right-left mirror you guys had going on.
Yeah, we're definitely similar and opposite is kind of what it is. It's really just deception. Like he has a lot of deception in his delivery. I have a lot of deception in my delivery. So yeah, that's definitely very similar. But yeah, then we're also very different in other ways too. So.
I know you were really close with Jack Neely. Also, I heard he was the best man at your wedding, and you guys are both really big-bodied guys. So I'm sure you guys have some fun competitions.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially in I don't know if you guys ever saw, but us playing hacky sack. It's always a good competition. We play hacky sack before the games. We're always competing in that. But as far as baseball, we just push each other as hard as we can. Like if he's doing something better, I try to make myself do that even better. And that's what's great about it. Just pushing each other to be better every day.
You both have the same goal, like everyone has the same goal,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we both want to be up there, so
yeah.
We're just trying to do what we can to make sure that we're both up there.
Who were the toughest hitters you faced in the Yankee system during practice?
Oh, that's tough. So, I mean, you really only faced our hitters during spring training, and you faced so many guys. I mean, I could say like an obvious one, from Somerset this year was Ben Rice. Obviously, he's a really good hitter. But also in spring training, I was completely different than I was during the season. I still had some certain pitches, and I was working on a lot of things. So it's tough to say like now. But I mean, always it's going to be like guys like Ben Rice. He's just, he's a really good hitter, tough to get out. Yeah, I mean, anybody in our organization's obviously a really good hitter. So, but it's a lot of good hitters to face.
I think that was Hampton's answer also, Rice.
Yeah, he's the easy answer for sure.
Yeah. How was it like? How about someone that's not in the Yankees organization that you had a tough time trying to pitch? Like every time they came up to the plate, you really had to bring your stuff.
Oh, yes. This is actually I thought it was gonna be a lot harder to answer, but this is actually really easy. It's Jackson Holiday, and I think it's Jackson Holiday by a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so I faced a lot of top prospects, a lot of number one prospects for certain teams, and I stuck with my plan, was able to get them out, had a lot of success with a lot of those guys. And for Jackson Holiday, I mean, I think he's like 1 for 3 off of me, which by any means, I mean, it's obviously decent, but it's not great. Um, but like he was just tough. I mean, his approach and the one hit he should not have hit the ball he had. Like I literally threw a perfect cutter up and in right in the spot I was supposed to throw it, and he hit it like 105. So it's he was definitely a tough out. And, the next time I faced him, I was like, I got to change my plan, and that's when it's not good, and the hitter has the advantage is when you have to change your plan, because you always want to stick to your plan. But somebody like him, he's really good. You got to do stuff a little bit different. But yes, I mean he's definitely a really tough hitter to face. But also fun to face because it challenges you to make you a little bit better. It makes you really think about what kind of pitcher you want to be.
Wow. And so with that, I wanted to ask also, what was your toughest moment on the mound this season? Can you remember one time that, like maybe a jam that you got into that you worked your way out of?
I guess, let me think. The toughest. I mean, man, that's a tough question because it's a long season. It's a lot to remember.
That's true. That
Um,
is true.
I mean, yeah. I mean, my favorite thing is just getting out of other people's jams. Coming in and cleaning it up.
That's a good
But
answer.
but from jams, in my perspective, you know, I I obviously did get in a few jams. But that's kind of, I mean, I can't name a specific one,
Yeah.
because it's, I get in a jam, and we have great catchers, we have obviously a great pitching coach who, if I'm getting in a jam, they come and give me a visit, and they're like, hey, you're doing this, and you're doing that
Yeah.
wrong, doing this, maybe we should do this, kind of making those adjustments. And having the staff and the catchers that we do, it just makes it a lot easier to get out of those jams.
True. True. And I have not seen many mound visits for you, so it's just the wrong question to ask you. So how this is a good question. I mean, how did your family help your baseball dream, and how cool is it to have them in your corner? Can you talk about that, about your parents' support?
Yeah, obviously my parents are extremely supportive. My whole life, dragging them to baseball. I mean, I guess I really shouldn't say dragging them to baseball because they loved how much I loved it, so they wanted to be there. Maybe my dad didn't like it so much, waking him up at 5 in the morning to go play outside and get a little bit better, even when I was a hitter and stuff. I mean, it's just awesome having them in my in my corner. And then obviously my wife, is one of my biggest supporters, if not the biggest supporter I have. So, it's honestly awesome, the people that I have around me. It just makes doing what I do a lot easier, knowing I have who I have.
Yes.
That's amazing stuff. Your father is the man. We've gotten to know him a little bit, so we appreciate that.
Absolutely.
He likes the clips we post and all the stats and stuff we do for you during the season. So that's been a fun interaction. So I'll continue with that theme. So you talked about this before, like how they kind of helped get you into the Yankees a little bit. Was it just something it was always on TV, like Yankees was all you knew, like you just watched it all the time? And did you have a favorite growing up?
Yeah, I mean, every Yankees game growing up, we were watching if we didn't have baseball. Even if we didn't have baseball, I'd be asking, "Oh, what's the Yankee score? What's the Yankee score?" So just obviously, we were diehard Yankee fans. But yeah, so that's why it's just crazy to be a part of the Yankees organization. And what was the other question you asked?
Who was your favorite player? Did you have a pitcher or someone you really
Oh,
liked?
yeah. So my two favorite players growing up. So back in the day, in like Little League and early, we call it Babe Ruth League and stuff. It was Derek Jeter because I was a shortstop.
Oh, nice.
But so I started to grow a little bit, and I started to gain a lot of velo. and then I started to pitch a lot more, and that's when I started to watch a lot more, like study a little bit more of the on the pitching side, and that's when I really loved Mariano Rivera. So those are my two guys. That's why it's also cool that I throw a cutter now, so I could be a little, a newer Mariano
Rivera. Those are two greats. Goats. Those are goats.
Absolutely.
And they are going to come up again later. I can't wait to tell you how. Something interesting I was thinking about. Did you swing the bat at all in high school or college? Because you talked about how you used to hit.
Yeah. In high school, I was a hitter. I was a good hitter. I just was definitely a better pitcher than I am a hitter. But never in college. I didn't hit at all in college.
So you started pitching in high school?
I pitched my entire life. It's just that being a pitcher really kind of took the forefront. Kind of when I hit a big growth spurt around like I don't know, 12 or 13. That's when I was like, okay, yeah, pitching is definitely going to be my thing, rather than being like an infielder.
That's awesome. So when you're off the diamond, I know you mentioned some hacky sack before. What are some other hobbies you like to indulge in when you're not playing ball?
Well, I mean, in season, I don't do a whole lot in season. It's really just like hacky sack, playing some video games with some of my teammates and stuff. And then in the off season and stuff, when I'm not training and stuff, I have my dog, my wife, we go for walks, stuff like that. So yeah, I can keep myself busy a little bit.
Do you like watching other sports besides baseball? Are you into football or?
I really don't. I used to watch a lot of other sports, but obviously during the season, it's tough to watch anything. It's just always super busy. But yeah, I don't really watch any sports anymore. Used to play basketball, so I used to watch a lot of basketball, but I haven't really watched many sports recently.
Of course, you used to play basketball.
Yeah. Basketball was a lot of fun. I was nowhere near as naturally gifted at basketball. It's something I had to work at. I could have been decent, but baseball was just always, the game that I loved. So that always took priority. It was always, hey, can I shoot some basketball hoops or go up to the batting cage and go hit and throw? Like I'd always choose hitting and throwing. So, I wasn't always as good at basketball, but I loved it.
Sandy brought up Hampton before, and I thought it was interesting that he said Jackson Holiday as well, because he also said Jackson Holiday.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, he was. Just a crazy good hitter. Like, there's other guys that I faced that, or even in the big leagues now that I still didn't think were as challenging as he was. He was definitely just somebody that I'd throw it in the zone I'm supposed to throw it, and he'd either get a really good foul that I would be surprised at, or he'd have a really good eye at a pitch he should have swung at. So he's definitely a really tough hitter. But yeah, so I'm not surprised he chose him as well.
The Yankees should definitely hire his hitting coach.
Absolutely.
I also wanted to ask you, about the Rule 5 draft, right?
Mm-hmm.
Were there any players or any of your teammates that were not protected that you wish that they were?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know who hasn't been protected.
Who wasn't? Oh, okay.
But I mean, I think they should protect everybody, because I feel like everybody's really good. So
yeah,
it'd be tough to say just one person. Because obviously everybody is just insanely good. So that's definitely that'd be tough. That'd be tough for sure.
Wait, wasn't Barclay not? Barclay wasn't protected. He was not. Barclay wasn't protected, so it's possible that a team can pick him up.
Yeah, that's great.
I know.
Well, we're really happy you're not on that list this year.
Seriously?
Hopefully next year you're on the 40-man, so we don't got to worry about that. I hope so too.
Yep.
So one other thing I was thinking about, we talked about a bunch of pitching prospects. Who is someone you think that needs to get more love from Yankee fans and maybe people aren't paying attention to? It could be a starter or a reliever.
Oh, man, that's a tough question. Man, that is tough. I don't know who exactly doesn't get enough attention. Obviously, I spend a lot of time with relievers and stuff, and but a lot of the guys that like Jack Neely, he's obviously really good, but he obviously gets some attention. Tough not to say Drew Thorpe just because of his stats were absolutely insane. It just felt like every time he was going out on the mound, it kind of sucked as a reliever because he was going to eat up 8 innings every time he went out there. So it's like it was great because you knew the team was going to win, but
Yeah.
obviously you weren't going to get your innings when he was going into the game. So, I mean, that's from my standpoint. That's kind of why
Right.
I have to say him. It's just like you just had that confidence that he was going 8 innings. It was absolutely insane. I think he averaged literally 7 innings per start, which is just crazy. It's like unheard of.
Yeah, he was lights out, man. He went up rather quickly, just like Hampton did. And
Yeah.
and you did as well, right? Well, from Hudson to how long did it take you from Hudson to Somerset?
I think it was 7 weeks. So the season started like second week of April. I was there at the end of May.
Yeah. Wow.
Again, everybody is just so good. I feel like everybody deserves a lot of attention. You just look at the like trackman numbers on everybody when they're just doing touch and feels or in game and stuff like that. It's just insane to see what everybody can do. So I think everybody deserves a lot of attention, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, we rave about the prospect pitching, how great our pitching form is, and definitely the coaching speaks volumes. And the fact that you also mentioned the analytical side, so it's like they combine both analytics and feel of the game
Yeah.
into your work, your performance. Is there any new pitches you're working on?
No, so I'm keeping it, from what I did last year. Just got the fastball, cutter, slider. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I'm just kind of building off what I did last year. Just maybe sometimes I wasn't happy with my locations of some pitches. So that's been my main focus this year or this off season is going to be is the command side of it. Instead of adding a pitch or deleting a pitch, just really kind of honing in on how I can make each pitch a little bit better. That's what I'm focusing on.
Good.
That's great stuff. It's been a fun one. So here's something that Stanzi brought up before about like the Rule 5 and stuff. Like, how challenging is it hearing all these names thrown around, like in the trade proposals? Like, these are literally all your boys. They're being thrown in trades for Juan Soto. Like, how much of that stuff do you see?
So I mean, I hear about it all from like various friends and stuff like that, but I try not to think about it too much. I don't want to lose any of my teammates. They're great friends, so it'd be tough to see anybody go. But yeah, I try not to think about it too much because odds are it's a lot of that stuff isn't going to happen or it's not going to be who you think it is. So I just try not to think about it as much as don't want to worry about it.
Absolutely.
Whatever happens, just kind of going with the flow.
Yeah.
We're going to close down with some games. We're going to throw the Aura game at you. We're going to throw a few Yankees at each other. You're going to get to pick. It's going to be mostly pitchers. And then we're going to close it down with Yankees Mount Rushmore.
So the or game is, we'll give you two options and you choose one or the other.
Sounds good.
All right. So here's the tough one to start. You Cheater or Mariano?
Oh, gosh. Man, I mean, Derek Jeter was kind of like, my day one favorite. But I feel like I kind of have to choose Mariano Rivera now just because, being a, reliever closer and throwing a cutter, I feel like I just got to go with him. He was, the best closer there ever was. So, I kind of want to be like that. So I feel like I got to choose him.
You can't go wrong either way, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we always like throwing that one in. It was perfect for you because that's your two favorite players, so we couldn't pass that one up. All right, Ron Guidry or David Cohn?
Oh man, this is tough. Well, those are also before my time though, so I'd have to say I'm gonna go with Ron Guidry.
All right, Anzi Pettis, Sabathia.
Oh, very similar. I'm gonna say I'm gonna say CC Sabathia just because he was one of my favorite pitchers also growing up. He was probably my favorite starter. So I'd have to
Yeah.
go with him.
All right,
I love
Dylan
CC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Chase actually went Andy Pettit, so now we got a little
Yeah.
going there.
Pettit's my favorite Yankee player, but CC, I don't think he gets the props he deserves, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So last one, Dylan Betances or David Robertson?
Oh, oh man. I also feel like I have to go with Betances because he played on a travel ball team that we played a lot growing up. Obviously, he was well before me, but I got to see the team he played for, so I kind of watched him
Yeah.
a lot more also growing up. So I'd have to say him.
Oh, now we're doing the Mount Rushmore game. You know what it's all about, right? So
Yeah.
pick your four.
Okay, this is gonna be tough. I mean, three are easy. I feel like.
Yeah.
Jeter, I gotta do Mo, and then Babe Ruth. I feel like you can't leave him off. But the
Okay.
fourth one is where I feel like it gets really tough. But I feel like I probably have to. Yeah, I probably gotta say Mickey Mantle. Just
Okay.
I feel like you kind of have to say him over anybody else, really.
So good. That's a good one. It was nice interviewing you.
Thank you.
Thank
I'm
you.
glad to be here. Yeah, no problem at all.
Let everyone know where they can find you at on social media. Let's get your follows up.
If you want.
I don't even know if I know my username completely, but on Instagram, I think it's like Danny Watson 7. There might be an underscore, there might not be. I'm not even sure, to be honest.
Cool. Well, you can follow Dugout Station on all our platforms. And we want to thank you again for coming on and taking your time out and time off to speak to us. So good stuff.
Yeah, no problem at all. No problem at all. Glad to be here.
We also want to wish you luck next year too. We'll be following. We'll be watching.
Thank you. That sounds great.
Yes. We really want to see you out there again. Hopefully, you get that AAA bump and that MLB bump quick. Get that non-roster invitee for spring training, and let's rock it for 2024. We can't wait.
Absolutely. I'm excited for next year. And glad you guys are gonna be there supporting me. Appreciate it.
Always. And we'll let you know when this is out. Like, we'll tag you and stuff